Hello everyone, my name is TJ and welcome to my Lego room. And today I am more than just a little bit excited because we are going to be talking about my favorite vehicle of Batman's, and that is the Batpod. Now, when they came out with the 2021 Tumbler, I thought that there would be a lot more vehicles and different sets that were going to come out as part of the Dark Knight trilogy. So far we haven't seen that. Hopefully that changes in the near future, but until it does, we're just going to have to deal with the one $40 tumbler set and the one $220 tumbler set. But before we go too far, I do want to remind you that all the instructions for mocks that I build are up on rebrickable.com, including this one, and in this case, the instructions are free, so you're welcome, Galaxy. Or in this case, you're welcome, Gotham. We're going to go ahead and jump into it. Not only am I going to show off this Batpod mock, but I'm also going to show you how to build it in a semi-tutorial kind of manner, so I hope you enjoy. And we're going to go ahead and talk about not only the build here, but also why the Tumbler is my favorite, hopefully. Or I might just get into the build and we might just work on that. But nonetheless, let's jump into this thing. Alright, so this is the 2021 Tumbler. As soon as I saw that they were bringing back the UCS Tumbler, I was a little bit sad because I really wanted to be able to get a version of it that wasn't $200, right? But then I heard the rumor that there's going to be a small version as well, and when I saw that it came out and it looked as amazing as it did, I was worried about the price. It turns out it's only $40, and with the direction that Lego is going with their prices right now, $40 is a very reasonable price for this set. I just love the fact it looks good from every angle. It's amazing. I don't know how they were able to do it this time. It's the attention to detail. It's pretty much exactly what you want from every direction. It looks very close to what we see in the movie, and those giant tires on the back. I mean, I don't know why, but I absolutely love those huge tires on the back end. This vehicle design was just incredible. And the fact that they said, oh, it's a Batmobile, it's like, really? How would you ever think that that was a Batmobile? But I think it worked fantastic. And this particular build, I gotta say, if you have the opportunity to pick it up, even if it's not on sale, even if you can't get a discount anyway, I would do it. I think I paid full price, no bonuses, no double points or anything at the Lego store. I think I literally just walked in and said, I will take one of those because this is a fantastic set, and I absolutely think it's worth the money. But that's not what we're here to really talk about, even though I'm fanboying all over myself there. We're here to talk about this guy. So this is my version of a Batpod that is up to scale. It's pretty close to scale with the 2021 version of the Tumbler. There are a couple key points that I feel like I need to address anytime I build a Tumbler. A Batpod. Oh my goodness, I'm sorry. Wow. Okay. So there are a couple of key things that I think always need to be in place whenever you build a Batpod. Number one, the wheels have to be the exact same as your Tumbler. In my own versions of Batpods that I've built in the past and Tumblers in the past, the wheels have always matched the front wheels of the Tumbler, including my space version, my Star Wars version of the Tumbler and Batpod. But in this particular case, it was extremely difficult to do, and as I go through the tutorial here in a minute, you'll see why. But nonetheless, I was able to get it together, and it rolls, it looks good. Most of the time it balances upright. Sometimes you gotta give it a little love to get it to stay upright. The Batpod itself is lopsided as far as its build goes, and generally when you look at it, it actually normally compensates the imbalance on the back end by having a little stub out over here. At least that's the that's the way they balanced it out in the movie and in the practical versions that they built for the movie. But in the Lego version, it's close enough to balanced that you can usually get it to set up and maybe even get it to lean one way or the other. But getting it balanced is not that difficult to do. And that's thanks mostly to the type of wheels that they use. They do have a kind of balanced section in the middle. But let's go ahead and start talking and figure out if I can show you how to actually build this thing. It's got a couple of tricky parts, so let's jump into it. All right, so first things first, focus. All right, so we're going to use these 1x4 Technic lift arms, but they've got the little extra nub on the end. And we're going to do that because it just helps it look a little bit cleaner rather than putting bushings on. Then we've got some 4 long axles, and we're going to stick those on each end that has an axle connection. We're just going to stick those in all the way, just nice and flush. If you want to put them down on a table, push them down to get them flush, that works too. All right, then we have some 2 long lift arms with axles. I'm going to stick those right there. Then I always mess up right here. All right, then we have a 3 long lift arm that goes in the bottom section of that, or not a lift arm, a 3 long axle that's going to stick right under there. And that is going to be what continues on. This section mostly just goes from one side to the other, and we leave blank because Batman's feet are going to sit right against that. Then we're going to get a 1x3 Technic lift arm, put it on that lower section. And then we get a bushing, put it here. I think you can actually build this entire mock for less than $10, which is pretty cool. All the parts are surprisingly accessible and easy to get. Now here is one of the tricks that we're going to use here. We're going to put the stud inside the pinhole on there. And they do fit. It's not a perfect fit. And they can tend to fall out if you're not careful. So just hold it in there until you can get the other side on. You should be fine. Next, we're going to use one of these guys. This is a ball receiver. This ball receiver, there are multiple versions of it, and they all work. So whichever version you have, you can go ahead and use it. Boop. There we go. And now, like most Technic builds, whenever you get halfway through, the rest of it is basically mirroring what you did before in that same order. So we're going to put the 1x3 Technic lift arm on first. Then the 1x2 Technic lift arm is going to go on there, and that should complete the 3 long Technic beam or Technic axle right down at the bottom, which we did. Perfect. It can work. All right. Next up, we're going to be putting on the wheel because before we put that last part on, we need the wheel on. All right. Now this is going to be one of the parts where you realize that I cheated. Because if we put this wheel inside the tire, that's not where we want it to sit. These tires are 2.5 bricks wide, and for all of you who out there who know, getting something that's 2.5 bricks wide centered is almost impossible. However, I did find a little trick that actually works, and that is that you push the wheel in past its locked in, past its if they were both Lego ABS plastic, their click point. So you're actually going to countersink the one side until it is even. And the best way to tell if it's even and centered is you're going to put it on the axle, and then you're going to match it up with the center here, that stud. If it matches up, then you know you're good to go. And I think we matched it pretty good. First try. Nice. Well, first try in this try of the build, at least. Then we're good to go and put on the other 1x4 lift arm that has the little nub on the end. All right. And now it's not really spinning, so what we want to do is we want to just kind of pull the back end apart just a little bit. There we go. Get some nice spin. So the problem is these lift arms were just pushing together too close and not allowing the wheel to spin. They were kind of adding some friction to that. So next we're going to work on the front. So first we're going to take one of these little ball joint things, and these little balls with the axle hole in them, you could technically use one of the ones that's hollow all the way through, but I prefer the one that has the rounded ball end. I just think it looks a little bit cleaner. And you're going to stick a 2-long axle inside that. I always stuck with the black axles or the black pieces whenever I could, unless they were specifically gray on the Batpod itself. That was just for color consistency. Then we're going to take a couple of these babies. We're going to stick them in right like that. We're going to stick those right on there. So we've got this nice little contraption here. Now this is the part that becomes a little tricky. We're going to take another one of those 1x4 axles. We're going to stick it in like that. And then we're going to stick that assembly into our ball joint assembly, and it's going to stick out just a little bit. Believe it or not, we actually are going to use that as a stopper to help us to go to help keep us from going way too far when it goes in and angles. But we're actually going to go ahead and attach that in right now. So grab the other part, stick it in, pop, and then we can bring it down until it stops. Now this probably won't be its final position. It probably needs to come down a little bit more, but we're not going to know exactly until we get the cannons on next to the front wheel. Speaking of front wheels, we're going to go and put an axle in this front section. Boop, like that. Then we're going to put in another wheel, and we are doing that same thing again where we countersink the one side. So it's got a nice little lip on there, and then we're going to stick it on here and make sure that it's centered with our other pieces. Nailed it again. 300th time's the charm. Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, 300th time is the charm on getting that going. Then we're going to use a bushing on this side because they don't make a 1x3 with that extra stub out. Well, maybe they do. I just don't have one. If they do, that'd be awesome, actually. That would really clean up this build. All right, and again, we want to make sure that wheel spins pretty freely. You can actually give it a little bit of friction if you want it to hold in place and not roll around as easy. But for me, I like to have it nice and easy to roll. All right, now at this point, we've got a couple options. We can either go with the handlebars or we can go with the guns. I think I would like to put the handlebars on first. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to grab a 1x3 bar, and we're going to attach a clip to that. One of the main reasons that I really love the Batpod is that it comes out of the tumbler. If anybody has ever played the game Spy Hunter, you can use some mechanical arms there, similar to like this old speeder bikes back in the day. If anybody played that old game Spy Hunter, that's actually what happened with that vehicle, is that when you were damaged too much, a motorcycle would pop out of the car and you could keep playing the game, albeit with less health. I think they had a more modern version for one of the Xboxes, but it's been a long time since I looked up that, but we used to play it. All right, so to help get some of the look here, we're using these inverted curved slopes. You can see there, and so that gives us the little pseudo covers that we see on the Batpod from the movie. And we're going to go ahead and we're just going to stick that clip right on top of that snotting stud right there. And that gives us a pretty good connection, actually. Believe it or not, that's actually what's going to hold Batman on the Batpod right there. It's kind of funny. All right, next up, we're going to build the front cannons. All right, so we're going to be using a lot of these 1x2 round plates. So first things first, we're going to take 3 of them. We're going to put them all together like that. All right, so normally you would just put these together and form a square, but what we're going to do is we're actually going to tweak it so that they are not a perfect square. So we're going to go like this. We're going to just push that top one down. We don't want any of them to pop off, so if you push it too hard and it pops off, then you'll want to back off a little bit, put it back together, and give it another quick tension. And so you can see that this one is vertical and these 2 are on a slight angle downwards. Then we're going to take one of these 1x1 plates with a bar on them, one of my favorite pieces ever. It's so versatile. We're going to stick that on there like that. We'll align it later. It actually can swivel and move a little bit, so you shouldn't have too big of an issue once you get it on. It doesn't have to be perfectly aligned. We're going to put another one of those 1x2 round plates on there. Then we're going to cover up this top stud with the tile, and that'll help it sit up against. Then we're actually going to put this on our Batpod already. The reason we're going to do that, I don't know if I mentioned, we put Batman on here to line up all of our angles and get everything right. So after we got Batman on, we can adjust the little hand guards here. But the biggest reason we want to do that is to make sure we get our angle to the ground right, and we want to see this piece parallel to the ground. So it looks like it needs a little tweak. That looks pretty good. Awesome. All right, so once we've got that ready to go, now we're going to move on and actually build the cannons. Now the instructions actually say to build both sides of this at the same time. I've already got the other side built and ready to go, so I'm just going to build the cannon, and then we'll put the other one on to show you the final product. All right, now we're going to use a 5th one of these 1x2 round plates. We've got 10 of them just in this build. Thankfully, though, they're actually not very expensive. Like I mentioned before, it's less than $10 to build this whole mock, which is pretty awesome, I think. And hopefully many of you have these pieces at home. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to add some pieces to one side of this plate. We're going to put a tile on the top and then a hollow 1x1 round plate on the bottom, like that. Ta-da! Then on the non-plated side, we're going to put a lightsaber handle like this. All right, now it may feel a little bit flimsy because of the nature of these pieces, but this is actually going to go into that 1x1 round plate with bar that is our adjustable part of the other assembly. Then we're going to take a 3 long bar and stick it through the hollow stud and shove it all the way in. And then on the very tip, to represent our little barrels of our cannons, we're just going to put a half Technic pin on the end of it, and it gives it that nice little machine gun feeling, if you will. All right, now we're going to go ahead and put that on the Batpod. And so what we're going to do is we're going to try not to move this bar because we already lined it up. And then we're going to slowly stick that on there, give it a little wiggle. We moved it a little bit, so it looks like we'll have to recheck our adjustments. Yep, came up a little bit. All right, and it will not seat all the way down, so don't put it all the way because it's not going to work if you do. All right, looks pretty good. All right, maybe a little tweak. That's the thing, is very little amount of movement will cause a great change on the end of that barrel. All right, but I think we're looking really good. We can go ahead and put our other pre-assembled side on like that. And we, ladies and gentlemen, have a Batpod. So again, this is not perfectly to scale, obviously, for an actual Batpod. For Batman, like minifigure scale. However, when we look at the size of this thing compared to the 2021 Tumbler, we are pretty much right on. There's very little differentiation. There's very little discrepancy between the size of these two, which exactly what I was going for. So next time, hopefully, I'll be able to integrate this Batpod into the tumbler and have it actually pop out. Of course, that's just a pipe dream. That's never going to happen. But we can dream, Harold. All right. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that. I hope hopefully it was educational for you. I had a few other things I wanted to talk about, but we'll maybe save those for another day, and maybe I'll just put those up for the patrons. Just telling the story of the Batpod and how it all came together. But anyway, I hope you guys had a good one, and we will catch you next time in TJ's Lego Room. But until then, play well. Bye.